Good afternoon. It is Saturday, March 5th, 2021. Welcome to 7 to 9 minutes to look at the New Testament letter of James. My name is Brian. I'm a co-pastor at Converge Church here in Omaha, Nebraska. Our webpage is convergechurchomaha.org. You could also find us on Twitter as well. Also, like us on Facebook, the Converge Church Facebook page. If you're viewing this on YouTube, please hit the like button, subscribe to it. Please share it. The name of the channel is 7 to 9 Minutes in the Word of God. Today, we're going to be in the book of James, chapter 3, verses 2 to 5. Last time we returned to the subject of the tongue, the words that come out of our mouth. James first referred to our words in chapter 1, verse 19, where he says that we are to be quick to hear and slow to speak. And then in chapter 1, verse 26, if anyone thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. And we see in the book of James that our words have the power to encourage others and the power to harm and destroy others. Our words can be positive or our words can be negative. Verse 2 of James chapter 3 makes it clear that we've all messed up with our words. It says, "For we all stumble in many ways. And if anyone does not stumble in what he says, he is a perfect man, able to bridle his whole tongue." Again, that's James chapter 3, verse 2. Hypothetically, if a person could perfectly control his or her tongue, then that person is perfect all around, hypothetically. But no one on this side of heaven is perfect. Now, the word for perfect, though, could point to spiritual maturity, not spiritual perfection, but spiritual maturity. And so, the more spiritually mature we are, the more control we'll have of what comes out of our mouths. But I'm not sure that absolute perfection with our tongues can occur in anybody's life. But certainly there can be strides, great strides actually, towards keeping a lid on it and speaking words of encouragement through the grace and the power of Jesus as we grow in holiness. Now, in verses 3 and 4, James, again, James is a half brother of Jesus, he gives two analogies that illustrate the immense power of a very small tongue. The first analogy is the small bit that is put in the mouths of horses. It says, again, verse 3, if we put bits into the mouths of horses so that they obey us, we guide their whole bodies as well. So a bit is a very small, but it can control a very large and powerful animal. Our tongues are small, and yet it has the ability to control who we are and what we do. Now, the second analogy in verse 4 is the small rudder of a ship. Here's verse 4. Look at the ships also, though they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are guided by a very small rudder wherever the will of the pilot directs. So again, the rudder of a ship is very small, and yet it has the power to guide a huge ship, even in strong winds. And so our tongues, like the bit, like the rudder, they're small and yet very, very powerful. And could be very positive or it could be very, very negative. Now, notice the first part of verse 5 says, "So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great things." See, our pride can cause us to boast of great things. Look how great I am. Look at all these great things that I've done. And boasting certainly is not an admirable characteristic because it reveals a person's self-centeredness. The last half of verse 6, this is where we're going to end. The last half of verse 6 is, "How great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire." How great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire. It doesn't take much to start a forest fire. Smokey will tell you that. A small flame or even a small spark in a dry forest has the potential to result in a widespread and deadly damage. Now, in the same way, our boasting, the careless use of our tongue, the words that come out of our mouth, can be that small fire that can start a great forest fire that results in damage to the people around us. No doubt we've all been harmed by the words of others. Now, I'm old, so if you're old like me, you're kind of remember as kids, we used to say to each other, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me." Wrong. That's absolutely wrong. Many times, words will bring much more pain than being hit by sticks and stones. Often, the words of others will hurt far more than a broken bone. The words we receive, the wounds we receive, the wounds that we receive through the words of others can run deep and can last for years, even decades. And so, as followers of Jesus, we need to make sure that the words that come out of our mouths bring life and encouragement to others. Let's build up. Let's not tear down. In this society with social media and everything going on Facebook and all that, let's build up. Let's not tear down. Even if people disagree with us, and especially as Christians, we need to encourage one another. So let's not be known as, that Christian who has little control over his or her words. Instead, let's seek to exhibit the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5 verses 22 and 23. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and when our hearts are characterized by those nine characteristics of the Spirit, the fruit of the Spirit, then our words are going to reflect that. When our hearts are conditioned by love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self control, then our words are going to reflect the condition of our heart. And Jesus has a lot to say about that in the gospel. So let's cultivate our relationship with Christ through the Word, read the Bible, through prayer, and through worship with God's people and fellowship with God's people. I'm looking forward tomorrow at Converge Church because we're going to be together in the worship center at 10 a.m. and then about 11:15 we're going to break into our community groups and have our small group time. And so very looking forward to that morning. Well, next time we're going to look at how damaging and deadly our words can be as we continue our study with 7 to 9 minutes in the book of James. Thanks for joining me during this episode. This video will soon be posted on my YouTube channel. Again, that's called 7 to 9 minutes in the Word of God. Have a wonderful weekend. Until next time, the Lord bless you.